I was 17 the first time I understood what real fear felt like. Not the kind you feel before an exam. Not the kind that makes you jump at a loud noise. I mean the kind of fear that slows time down and forces you to calculate whether the next breath you take might be your last. I've replayed that day in my head so many times that sometimes I can still smell the rainforest before I even close my eyes. Wet soil, rotting leaves, humid air thick enough to taste. The sound of insects buzzing in layers, like the forest had its own electric current humming through it. I wasn't supposed to be alone. My name doesn't matter as much as my age did at the time. 17. Too young to think I was invincible, but old enough to believe I understood risk. I had grown up around nature. My father was a field biologist, and I'd spent most of my childhood walking through forests, learning how to read tracks, how to recognize warning calls from monkeys, how to move without snapping branches underfoot. But that rainforest was different. It was in Costa Rica, deep inside a protected research zone, where my father had been working on a jaguar population study. I had begged him for months to let me join one of his field trips. He finally agreed during summer break. I told myself it was proof that he trusted me. Looking back, I think he underestimated how fast things can go wrong in the wild. The morning it happened started peacefully, too peacefully. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the entire jungle soaked. Water dripped steadily from the canopy, landing in soft thuds on the forest floor. Mist hovered low, wrapping itself around tree trunks like smoke that refused to rise. The air was heavy, pressing against my chest with every breath. We split up that afternoon to check motion sensor cameras placed along different animal trails. It wasn't unusual. We carried radios, GPS trackers, whistles. I had done this before in smaller forests. The paths were narrow but visible. My assigned route was supposed to loop back to the main trail in under 2 hours. At first, everything felt normal. I remember feeling proud walking alone, my boots sinking slightly into the damp soil. I focused on practical things, adjusting the straps of my backpack, checking the battery level on the camera unit I carried, making sure my machete was secured properly. The rainforest is never quiet, but it has layers of sound. High-pitched insect whines, distant bird calls, the occasional rustle of small mammals moving through leaves. It's chaotic, but balanced. And then, something shifted. It wasn't silence exactly, it was thinning. The upper layer of sound, birds and monkeys, faded first. I slowed down instinctively. My father had taught me that when prey animals go quiet, something higher in the food chain is nearby. I told myself it was probably nothing. A passing predator far away, maybe just the weather changing. I reached the second camera trap and crouched to inspect it. The lens was smeared with mud. I wiped it clean and checked the memory card. My hands were steady, but my ears were working overtime, picking apart every distant sound. That's when I heard the first low cough. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was soft and throaty, almost like a human clearing their throat. But I knew that sound. Jaguar. I froze. The rainforest floor smelled stronger suddenly, metallic and damp. My pulse started pounding in my ears. Jaguars are elusive, rarely seen, and almost never heard unless they want you to know they're there. I stood slowly, not turning around immediately. Turning fast can trigger movement. My heart was hammering so hard that I was certain anything within 50 meters could hear it. When I finally turned, I didn't see anything, just trees. Shafts of weak sunlight breaking through the canopy. Then I noticed the monkeys high above me, all staring in the same direction. Not at me, behind me. The cough came again, closer. This time I turned faster, and I saw it. About 25 meters away, partially concealed by undergrowth, stood a jaguar. Its coat was darker than I expected, almost blending with the shadows. Its eyes were fixed on me, unblinking, calculating. Jaguars don't roar like lions. They don't make a show of power. They assess. My mouth went dry instantly. At 17, you don't fully grasp how small you are until something like that is staring at you. It didn't move at first. It just stood there. Heavy shoulders, muscles shifting subtly under patterned fur. I remembered something my father had repeated countless times. Never run from a big cat. Running triggers chase. You will not win that race. So I didn't run. I slowly straightened my posture and made myself appear taller. I raised my arms slightly, spreading them to widen my silhouette. My backpack added bulk to my upper body, which I silently thanked every survival instinct for. The jaguar took one step forward, slow, deliberate. My breathing became shallow without me realizing it. I forced myself to inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Panic narrows your thinking. I needed clarity. I began backing away step by careful step, keeping my eyes on it but not locking into a hard stare. Predators interpret prolonged eye contact as a challenge, but looking away entirely shows weakness. The ground behind me was uneven, wet leaves, exposed roots. I could not afford to trip. The jaguar followed, not charging, matching my pace, testing. My mind was racing through options. The nearest thick tree trunk was maybe 10 feet to my left. Climbing wouldn't work. Jaguars climb better than humans. Water was too far. The machete at my side felt useless against something that powerful. Another step forward from the jaguar. It lowered its head slightly. That posture changed everything. It wasn't just curious anymore. It was deciding. I shouted suddenly. Loud, sharp. The sound tore out of my throat without warning. The jaguar paused, its ears twitched back briefly. That hesitation gave me a fraction of control. I grabbed a fallen branch near my foot and raised it above my head, slamming it against a tree trunk to create a sharp cracking sound. Noise can disrupt a predator's confidence. Sometimes, the jaguar didn't retreat. It crouched, and in that second time fractured. I knew what that position meant. It was about to leap. Before I could fully process it, the jaguar launched forward. The distance between us disappeared in a blur of muscle and claws. I tried to sidestep, but my boots slipped on wet leaves. I fell backward hard, air slamming out of my lungs. Its weight hit me instantly. The impact felt like being crushed by a moving wall. Its claws tore through my jacket sleeve, grazing my forearm. I smelled its breath, hot and raw, tinged with something metallic. It went for my upper body. Instinct took over. Instead of pushing at its chest, I jammed my backpack upward between its jaws and my neck. The fabric absorbed the first bite. Teeth sank into canvas instead of flesh. The force was unreal. I screamed, not from fear, but to shock it. With my free hand, I reached blindly for the small canister clipped to my side. Bear spray. My father insisted I carry it even though jaguar encounters were rare. I fumbled with the safety tab. My hands were shaking violently. The jaguar shook its head, tearing into the backpack. Its claws raked across my thigh, burning pain flaring instantly. I managed to aim the spray upward toward its face and pressed down. A thick cloud burst between us. The reaction was immediate. The jaguar recoiled violently, snarling, pawing at its face. The sound it made wasn't just anger. It was shock and irritation combined. I rolled sideways, scrambling to my feet despite the pain in my leg. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. The jaguar staggered back a few steps, blinking rapidly, shaking its head. That was my only window. I didn't run blindly, running straight triggers pursuit. Instead, I backed away fast but controlled, keeping the spray aimed in its direction. When it stepped forward again, I sprayed a second burst. That time it turned fully, not sprinting away, but retreating into the undergrowth, coughing and snarling. I stood there shaking, every muscle trembling. Blood was dripping down my thigh, where its claws had cut through fabric. My arm burned. My backpack hung in shredded pieces. I waited. 1 minute. 2. 3. The rainforest slowly began to breathe again. Insects returned first. Then distant bird calls. Only then did I allow myself to collapse to my knees. I wasn't safe yet. I still had to get back. And walking through that rainforest alone, injured, knowing a jaguar had just tested me as prey, that part might have been worse than the attack itself.